And week 6, I like to just take a breather for a moment and make sure that everyone is on the same page. And what I love about the treasure hunts is that I get to, and the quiz, is I get to make sure that I'm giving the information that you really need to know about things. And enough people got the overdub question a little mixed up that made me think I didn't make it clear. So I'm going to talk for a moment, go back in time for a moment about overdubs, which is something that you do when you're in record mode, when you're in production. And of course, you're going to learn about post-production today and ongoing because we're going to be talking about mixing. But what I want to do is just step back one brief moment to correct one thing that I saw many times. Many of you got it right, but some people, I think they thought what they were saying was correct, but let me explain. When you say something like an overdub is when you record on top of something, it actually makes the person listening think that you mean erasing what was previously there. And that's not what an overdub does. What it allows you to do is record in addition to the previously recorded tracks. So you're adding a new track, you're listening to the previously recorded tracks, and you might be adding a bassoon or a tuba or a harmonica or a vocal. There are times when you're fixing a track in an overdub, or let's say I laid down what's called a scratch vocal. This is what you learn in the recording class. We don't go deep into recording in this class, as you know, we just touch on it for a week. But let's say I lay down a scratch vocal, and that just means it's a guide track during the recording session. So the band can stay with the song and they hear the singer. But I know that later on, I want to record a better vocal. That's still an overdub, even though I'm probably going to erase the scratch track. But I don't want everyone to think that all overdubs mean you record on top of previously recorded material. It's usually in addition to. You're adding new tracks. But the reason for the word overdub is that you're listening to the previous ones in a mix, like you got to put a little mix together for the person, so that if I come in to play my guitar solo in the middle of the song, I want to hear the song in a good way that I could play with it, that I could play to the music. So that would be considered an overdub. I'm not erasing anything. I'm laying down a new fresh track. And that's what I wanted to be the main takeaway for overdub, because I saw several people look like you thought it was replacing a track and not necessarily. TL, go ahead.
I was a question on the quiz last night. So I put layering and I put kind of what you just explained. Is that kind of like layering? That's what I put as my answer last night.
Yeah, that was fine. The only people, when I took something, took a point away, I think it was a 3-point answer, and I took just 1 point off, is if they basically said, not layering, layering's fine. And even when they wrote on top of, I gave them the full points, but it was when it was replacing or recording over, just so people know it's not about recording over. It's definitely, you're keeping all your takes and you're recording in addition to. Layering's great, that's a great term. Because when you layer, it means in the timeline, you've got the same material that's going in the timeline of various tracks, my kick drum, my snare drum, my bass, my other instruments, and then a new track, same part of the timeline, you're adding a new part. And by the way, sorry for my ghostly look. I'm sitting directly under the worst lights that exist on planet Earth, those ones that you find in penitentiaries. That's what I'm sitting under. So I look a little ghastly today. Okay, so that, just wanted to make that clear about the recording. So let's move into something new. We're going to talk today about mixing this week.